welcome back to another episode of the Game Addicts podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brando, and joining me here today, as always, is this podcast player 2, Mike.
Hello.
What up, dude? We are back here once again. We're kind of getting caught back up here. We don't have like a huge, long list of stuff to talk about this week, just stuff that we're kind of like leftovers from the last time. Yeah, we just released a new episode, and we're already back at it once again. Try to get back on a semi-regular release schedule of releasing stuff. But we found a little bit of pocket of time to talk about some more gaming stuff. And that's where we kind of left off on the last episode. We talked about my trip to Japan, or we talked about my pickups from my trip to Japan. I got a lot of other small stuff, but and candy. Brought back a lot of candy.
Of course.
Still, man, like we're still eating on that damn candy. But had a good time. I'm going to tell that story, I think, on the next episode. And the next episode will be 180, talking about the Japan trip. Because it was a really cool trip. I saw a lot of cool stuff and a lot of drama to and fro, trying to get there and get back, which makes it an entertaining story. But definitely will be telling you guys that story as I've almost got it down now. I think I've told it enough where I know exactly how to ebb and flow the story. And, like where to put the jokes, where to put the suspense. It's almost becoming a bit that I've told it so much like a comedian. When a comedian goes out and tells us jokes, he knows exactly where the people are going to react and where they're going to get it and where he needs to pause. That's almost where I'm getting with this Japan story. I've told it so much.
Fair.
But Mike, how does today find you? I know that I found you when we linked up on the phone call. How you doing?
Hanging in there,
buddy.
Had a lot of drama on my side of the family. It's not really drama. I say drama. That's the incorrect word. There's just a lot of negative stuff happening. A lot of people in the hospital. It's just been horrible to really stay focused on work or anything. And it just every day it seems like my father was talking about. It's every day is something new, and you have to change and adapt. And it's not, doesn't seem like a sun. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. It just seems like you're a tunnel going deeper. So it's kind of what we're both at. But
there's a Metallica song. It's one of my favorite Metallica songs. It's a later one, No Leaf Clover from S&M, and there's a line in that song that I've always connected with for one way or another. The light at the end of your tunnel is just a freight train coming your way.
It's fair. It's a fair statement.
I have felt that too in life. My heart goes out to you and to all those in your family. Hope you guys can get past this difficult times. That is what is hard about living anymore. I mean, it's always been difficult. Like when you deal with loss or pain and suffering, it's the human spirit to endure all that and carry on. It's as my kids are making, as my kids are just making all kinds of noises out there.
All right, Donnie Thornberry, calm it down in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, no, the human will cannot be underestimated, but it's so taxing. It's so taxing on the mental health, spiritual health, and even it can even radiate down into physical health. It can affect you. So definitely wish all the best for you guys. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that you feel up to recording and just kind of getting caught up on a few things. Stuff that the last episode got about an hour long, and it got to about a good cutoff point. And what I mean by that is it's just like we had so much conversation already. We're having a good flow, and that was a point where the conversation was going to change, and then we were going to be talking yet probably for another half hour to 45 minutes to cover the rest of the stuff. And I'm like, man, we could go, but we both have other stuff that we need to do outside of the podcast, and we need to get going on with our lives. And so that's why we are reconvening this so closely here today. On the last episode, we talked about some of the PlayStation stuff that's been going on with the PlayStation Portal, with that being a remote play device. We've already heard this was coming. They announced it, I think, at that showcase that they did that we covered. It was either that or around that time, and it's got like is it an 8?
The earbuds and the new VR and.
Well, it wasn't VR. It was the new headset. It was like
there was something else too. There was 3 things.
It was the portal. It was the earbuds, and then a new headset. Because the headset has like a microphone thing that comes down, I think. But they got the earbuds got that 3D audio technology and whatnot, and like, okay, cool. But this device, it's like you and I talked about it on the last episode of how easily they could charge another $200 for this thing and have it be a portable PS4 that you could take with you that is remote compatible with a lot of PS5 games, if not most of all your first party at least. But now I saw something that said it's not Bluetooth, and I can't remember if we talked about it in the last episode, but you said it uses proprietary wireless technology.
Yeah, it's what I think it's like PlayStation X or something. I'll have to look.
But
I'm looking up something else now.
So we talked about that. We talked about Xbox and their acquisition, and well, it was within their acquisition that we discovered that Nintendo is making a new console that we may or may not know anything about. That no. Come on, we all knew they were working on something. We all knew it was coming. The Switch has been out for a while. The Switch is almost as old as our podcast itself. Our podcast started in 2016, and when they announced it, I believe it was in 2016. So the Switch has been around for just a little bit, and a successor of sorts is around the corner. But the question was always, what kind of successor is that going to be? Nintendo is known to sometimes be a little bit crazy and throw you for a wild bone, where the next console is going to be a direct plug into your TV thing, and it has nothing to do with the Switch. In fact, none of those games are backwards compatible. Good luck. Well, something in the some leaker or somebody had some information. So take this with a grain of salt, but we know it's coming. We have heard that it's possibly coming in early 2024. So they could be announcing it this fall as the next generation Switch. And according to the leak, it has an 8-inch screen, just like the Portal. There's a reason why I brought up the Portal again. That the Switch has a 1080 8-inch screen. So currently, the Switch does not have a 1080 screen, or it doesn't supply that. I think the highest it does is 720, which is fine for the screen size.
1080p dock.
And it does 1080p docked if the game can support it. We don't know what the dock power of this thing is going to be, but I have heard rumors that the system itself will be about as powerful as a PS4, which is why I was saying make the Portal a PS4. Now you've got 2 consoles that are about the same power that are going to be, Nintendo's already got all these good graces in. There are people that are making it certain games for that are coming to everywhere else. Xbox is going to be bringing Call of Duty in some fashion to the Switch. I assume what they meant by that is Switch next generation. Because you're going to have the next gen stuff, and if your last gen is as powerful as a PS4, I think you're doing pretty damn good for yourself. If it's a handheld base console, if you're able to put it, you could go higher. Like you got the Steam Deck and some of that stuff that can go higher, but the battery life, it's like a mix. It's like, if you go all out and you're going, this console, all these latest and greatest games they can get on your Steam library, and then your battery life is 2 hours.
What's the point?
Man, I get it. Plain right.
It's cool. It's cool, but you gotta dock it 90% of the time.
Yeah, so I actually did watch somebody playing. Okay, so I watched this video of this guy. He went and camped out in a forest in a tent that's like a clear plastic tent, and he put up a table and a whole rig and a whole power setup in there, and he played through the Resident Evil 4 remake on his Steam Deck with a monitor sitting out in the forest all night.
I mean, okay.
I mean, but he played it docked the whole time. And he's like, yeah, I brought this thing. I got he got so far into it, and the next day he was playing some more, and it started to warm up, and his console got so hot it turned off. He thought he broke it.
Yeah.
But no, I think if you're Nintendo and you're like, we don't want it to be as powerful as a PS5 Series X, that's too much. It's too much cost on our consumer. That's too much cost for us to do. We can do good right here and set a flag. And you have companies that have been making stuff with a similar architecture. I mean, it's not the same kind of it's not really fair to say because it's not the same architecture, but they have a lot of these, like the Switch had a version of the Tegra chip. So some of these consoles are based off the same kind of hardware or inside, not necessarily the OSs or anything, how everything that works. But anymore, if you look at these consoles and break them down, they're micro PCs or whatever like that. It's becoming a little bit more friendly for developers, and I think that is a great place for them to be. Next Switch.
But
continue.
That pushes costs on customers. This is what the problem is right now. So I'm going to interject just because you're talking about the architecture of the Switch versus these new ones that are coming out. Essentially, the Switch has changed gaming, period.
Mm-hmm.
It should prove that you can have this much power in your hand and get the games that you love. Problem is that with PC, you've got the ROG and the Steam Deck that are, ROG just came out. It's a little bit more powerful, but $700, $500. Well, you can budget a PC for the same price and get just as much. If not, you can get a lot more, technically, out of a budget PC than this. So the question falls is these emulators, these imitators, they're imitating the Switch success.
Yeah.
Are they worth it in the long run? Are they truly worth it? Because I looked at one, I love the fact I can, let me get this, and I can put all my games on there and have a bunch of PC games. I can take them with me. I wanted one really bad. And then the more and more I looked at it, I'm like, $700. I mean, got a $1,000 computer here, $700. I can make that fully top scale just with that update, like a motherboard in that. I've already got a good graphics card and stuff. Why would I want to spend this money on something that's this big that I may or may not play? I'm not going to play as much as my PC.
It really depends on audience, on who, target market. So you are someone who could fall into the market, but you are deciding no. And there's going to be other people who agree with you 100%. Like, yes, this is what I do. I'm mainly a PC gamer. I don't need this because it's a smaller PC that I can just take with me. There's other people like me who aren't as much of a PC gamer at all, that they're very attracted to the idea of this for the same reason that you just said. You have all these games, you can just take them with you, and you're good to go. Hence why I've got a Vita that I've completely hacked to have PS1, PSP, right. Vita stuff on there. Hence why I've got my Switch, and I have this year played more games on my I've gamed more on the Switch than any other console I have. Period. And it's just, that's the era of gaming where I'm at now. There's a point where I had the Switch where I barely touched the thing.
Yeah.
Or I was playing console. I'm more of a console guy. But there's other people out there that obviously the Steam Deck selling, it sold really well. It sold crazy well. So there's a market out there for these things, and that's why everybody's making them now. That's why a bunch of people are putting stuff into it. The next Switch, here's my opinion, and here's the Brando flag I'm putting down on this. It has to be the successor to the Switch. They have now, like you said, created a separate handheld market for bringing consoleized gaming experience to your hands. They've merged handheld and console gaming.
Who's always been the champion of handhelds?
Nintendo.
There's no argument.
Nintendo.
People can argue it all they want, but there's literally no argument. Nintendo owns
Nintendo.
it.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. So now what you have is you have Steam Deck, all these other guys getting into it, and you see their price points, and those price points are scary. They definitely put you off. To
$500 for Steam Deck.
Like if I had a super massive Steam library,
and that's legitimately where it falls. Is like the Steam. This is the argument I see online all the time when I did all my research. Is the Steam Deck's the best. The trackpads are the best. Personally, I've had trackpads. I hate them. I hate them. I don't like them on laptop. No, 9 times out of 10, mine goes permanently off and never gets turned back on, and it gets a mouse. Personal preference.
Yep.
But if you were a Steam Decker or a Steam person from the beginning, Steam Decker. That was good.
Oh yeah, that's a term right there.
Steam Decker.
Oh, you Steam Deckers out there.
If you were a Steam, like originally with the Steam is great. If you were originally buying a lot of your games on Steam, I mean, they get amazing sales. Like I've got 10, 15 games on Steam, but it's not enough for me to go out and be like, I want to buy this handheld that I can use in this way, in this manner, for $500, and just with what's on it wouldn't be enough to put all of my games on there, like maybe 2.
Mm-hmm. So, like, you got people out there with hundreds in their library.
Yeah. So it works.
Yeah.
But one of the big things with the Steam Deck is that it's kind of getting more mod friendly, but it wasn't in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, no, can't do that. And then all these little ones came out that we've covered a little bit of the AO, and all that stuff that they made it where you could put, Nintendo, all that stuff on there. Great. But no Steam. Yeah, you can't fit any of your Steam library. So it's, as you said, as we said, it's one of those things. It's like they're really neat. I love them. I think they're cool. But $700, $500.
The rumor is that the Switch successor, Switch 2, whatever you want to call it, Super Switch, is going to cost $400, and which will be one of the highest priced Nintendo console releases ever. I think that's I can no longer say. At one point, I would have said, no, I wouldn't buy one until it goes down. With how much I've used my own Switch this year and how much that has revolutionized the way that I play games in short spurts, that could change as my kids get older. And I don't need to, be as readily available. The pause button gets utilized on my games more than the actual other buttons that I actually press, because I have to take extended breaks. That's one reason I'm so glad I'm not a big online gamer, because I'd be so depressed I wouldn't be able to play anything, because you can't pause those games. And I need to be able to be like, I get a text or I get a holler and I put it down and I go. I might come back to it in 5 minutes. I might come back to it in 2 hours.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't come back to it at all that night, because I feel like, well, by the time I'm getting into this now, I need to just no, I got other stuff I got to do. And that's the way it is. That is the way my life is oriented, and I'm not mad about it. But coming out with a brand new handheld with a new Switch, and we almost know what certain games will probably be announced for it. Come on, a big one that you're really into is probably going to release on that damn thing, Metroid Prime 4 or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
It sounds like the Call of Duty games are coming. It sounds like that they're going to be coming to that system.
I feel like that's one of the reasons why that game's been pushed back.
Well, they had to completely redo it from the bottom up, didn't they?
But I mean, we're what, 3 years, 4 years from that? Like, we should be hearing some traction with, hey, Metroid Prime 4, come on.
I feel like the remaster was just like the first step of that. We're still within a year of that.
They're doing 2 more. They're doing the next 2.
Well, then
but it's not going to be as redone.
Yeah.
But they also have the assets from the redo of this one that they're just going to roll into the next one. Essentially, Echoes. Corruption's the only one that really changes a lot of it. Echoes is kind of just here's another story on top of Prime.
So you've got remastered, like the first one's been completely remastered. One of the best looking remasters you could argue that you've ever seen.
Yeah. Clearly.
You know,
especially one of my top games.
Yeah. But then the other two are going to be more akin to ports, so they're not going to be as leveled up. There's another game that just released on the Switch that's the exact same story, and that's Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah,
so Red Dead Redemption and me go back. It goes back to Red Dead Revolver on the PS2 and Xbox. And when that game came out, so that game's completely different, right? It plays different. There isn't even a real link of story between Revolver and the Redemption games. So when that first Redemption game came out, I got it on the PS3, which is the worst console that you could get it on. And I played it and loved it. I thought the story was amazing. Still think it's amazing. And then, of course, they later on released 2, which then revolutionized what I thought you could do in a game story. Just like Last of Us, I feel like Red Dead is there with that. And that's I am very fearful that Rockstar has reached the pinnacle of what they can do as far as a good story. Because I think they are going to be hard pressed to ever top what they did with 2. That's my opinion. And you can take that to the bank. And then they'll rob it. So people have been clamoring for a remaster of Red Dead 1 using Red Dead 2's assets. Namely, almost the entirety of Red Dead 1's map is in Red Dead 2. Or at least everything not in Mexico. And Red Dead 1 map it's like you have the US portion and then the Mexico portion, and the Red Dead 2, which takes place at least 10 years before 1. You're in this section of the game, but then at the end of the game, when you get to the epilogue, you have access to the rest of the map from Red Dead 1. You can just go over there, and it's set so many years prior, and you can go explore. You can see ghost towns that are not ghost towns. It's pretty fucking neat if you're a diehard fan. And people loved 2, so they want to come in and they want to play 1 with all the bells and whistles of 2. So a few months ago, it's funny because this has started and ended in the amount of time that we have been not podcasting.
I know
for this most recent spell, because all the talk got brought up about it again, and it really started all signs point to August, something being announced in August, and now you're just waiting. Is it really? Is this one of those things that is really true, or is it did they change it because it got leaked? Or was it never true to begin with? It's one of those 3. It was true, 100% true. There is something coming from Red Dead, and it got announced, and we found out what it was, and it is a port of Red Dead Redemption 1 that has been worked on by a third-party development team to get it running smoothly, and this port has been released for, as we're talking, Nintendo Switch and PS4, and you can play it on PS5 through backwards compatibility. The PS4 Pro and 5 get the most out of it with 4K visuals at 1080p, and then the PS4 and Switch are almost identical as far as their performance. The Switch maybe is just right underneath it. So this was already out with backwards compatibility with the Xbox One and Xbox Series. So no new releases there. If you already have a copy of it from your 360, put it into your Xbox. There you go. You have it. It's that easy. But on the PlayStation side, the game has been locked on the PS3. The PS4 generation never got access to this game unless you had that old version of PlayStation Now or whatever it was, that on-demand stream service, which I tried it out and it was okay. I actually did try Red Dead on that service and it was okay, but some of it also might have been that I was not used to the type of game. It was obviously less tight of a game than 2. However, the game is locked at 30 frames across both versions. So no 60 frames. The Series X can get 60 frames out of this game. So I really don't understand why the other version, why the Pro and the 5 can't get 60. But it is what it is. I think they had to make it with some sort of parity with to have the Switch version. That's my guess. However, I watched a comparison video between the Switch, PS4, PS5, and even a little bit of the Xbox One thrown in, and comparing it to the worst, the PS3 one. And I will let everybody know, if you're thinking about getting it on the Switch, it's an upgrade. If you played the PS3 copy, this is an upgraded version. It looks better. It's going to perform better for the most part. And it is an upgrade. Your biggest upgrade is on the other side, though. And that's just the way it is. Here's the two problems with this game, Mike. Number one, people are complaining that it was a bit lazy. And that originally this game was slated to possibly have a lot more done to it as a remaster. But then Rockstar's experience with the GTA trilogy 2 years ago, now whole debacle, when they had another third-party developer come in and try to remaster these games and put them out, and it was a nightmare crap show. People wanted the original GTA trilogy, 3, Vice City, San Andreas, to get the same quality of life treatments that you had in 5, GTA 5, and that kind of stuff. And that just, it's not really feasible without doing a full-blown remake.
Right.
So I actually was a day one buyer of the digital version of the GTA trilogy, HD. I got it on the PS5. And there were some issues, but I thoroughly enjoyed playing those again. And the quality of life that they did bring into it helped me beat those games, at least mostly without cheats. Because back in the day, I never played those games without cheats. You just got in, do a couple cheats. All right, I got my weapons, got my money. Let's go. Right? Let's have fun.
Yep.
And I didn't give two craps. I got all the way into the last mission of GTA 3 without cheating, and that's when I lost all my weapons. And I cheated and got weapons, and honestly, I didn't even need to, because I forgot how the last mission plays out, which strips you of all your weapons anyway. So that's where we ended it. Vice City, I beat without cheats, 100%. Didn't do it. San Andreas, I got to the third city before I started cheating, and then I just gave up because it's a long game.
San Andreas.
So
it is a long game.
It is, dude. It's
a long game.
But
I used to just load into that, load a fucking helicopter and something in it, and just wreak pain. I didn't even care about the story. Just wreak havoc on the city.
The thing is, though, after playing all three of those games, the 3 in Vice City has a little bit more story to it. But San Andreas is really where the Rockstar started getting good at putting together a story. And I forgot how good the story was of San Andreas. This is a really good story. And because you forget about some of this, you remember it, but it doesn't stick out because that's not what you primarily did. The game is longer because they have more story to tell. And, of course, they would develop that more with the Max Payne games that Remedy made that Rockstar was involved with, and also with GTA 4, and then Red Dead 1, and then, of course, 5, and now Red Dead 2. But people are upset that Red Dead 1, that is now on Switch and PS4, literally has no big upgrades to it. It's the same game. I think the game is good enough to stand on its own merits, but here's problem number 2. It's $50 release.
Switch tax.
Well, even on the PS4 and 5, it's $50.
Yeah, it sounds like highway robbery.
It's only available digitally at the moment. A physical Switch copy is supposedly coming in the coming months. I will tell you this right now. When the price goes down on that, I'm probably going to buy it on the Switch. If it goes down to $30, all right, now you're getting to within my range of what I'm willing to pay for Red Dead Redemption after having already bought it. So, all right, I'll get that. So those two big things are big problems with the game, but I wanted to cover it a little bit because people are disappointed that they just didn't get what they wanted out of it. And there's a lot of rumors and stuff coming out around it, and then it was that, and then it was like, oh.
The thing is people want those games, but they want everything remade. and that's what's driving all this remaking,
Mm-hmm.
new
remasters, and
new content coming out, new games, developers taking the time to create something new and a whole new world. They're just, well, let's take this and upgrade the assets. It's what people want. Problem is they want a brand new game, in a development cycle of a year. For Red Dead, Red Dead 1, it's like, well, we could just all in it. It's not made the same. This stuff is all changed.
Yep.
All of it's changed significantly in the past. What? How long ago? 2012 for that one.
I think Red Dead 1 was 10, man.
10?
Yeah.
So you're looking at 13 years. Like,
yeah,
we ain't running the same freaking stuff here, Chief.
Oh no,
dude.
Dude.
That's a whole rebuild.
You load up Red Dead Redemption 1, and it's gonna feel like a game that released in 2010. It does. It feels older. Yeah. You play Red Dead 2, it feels grounded. It feels like that horse has weight. It just has a different feel to it. And I played Red Dead 2 just before FF16 came out. I was bored, and I'm like, I want to play some Red Dead. I'm in the mood. And I played the first 2 chapters of Red Dead 2. I love that game all over again. This is fun. Now, we talked about this ad nauseum here on the show that I'm all for them keeping games alive. Them putting this out for this side of the fandom, the Switch PlayStation side, keeps it alive. It's where it's not blocked off of it. Even though it's overpriced, I'm still in favor of it. I wish it was lower, and I hope it goes down sooner than later. I hope it finds a good resting spot at $30 and stays there, or goes lower.
They want almost new game prices for a game made in 2010 that they didn't put that much work into. You're talking about, like, if you would have spent a 2-3-year development cycle and you're asking for $50, I can't argue it. It's like, okay, it's a great game. You did all this work. It's a major upgrade. Not, well, here's a year or so out. And here's what you want, and we just kind of threw it out there. It's not. We put work into it, but we're asking for almost full price. You can buy the old one for like $10 at Replay, and put it on your Xbox, and then boom, you're done.
So, I'm gonna modify something that you said there, because I don't think that you're wrong, but I do think that when you say they didn't put a lot of work into it, what I think, maybe this might be a better way of saying it, they didn't put as much work in as regards to it compared to a complete remaster or remake, because that Rockstar, as far as I'm aware, did not do much to this at all. It was that third party, and I can't remember the name of the dev company now, but they're a smaller company, and there are people who have dedicated a lot of the time and their money and their efforts into getting this game runnable on the Switch and on the PS4. And so I think they do need to be celebrated to some extent, but a $50 price tag is a little daunting for a game that isn't a remaster, because they got it running. It's running solid across on the Switch. Number one, it's a 13-year-old game. Sure, it should run on the Switch, no problem. But then the Switch has certain limitations to it that they have to work around to get the game to even to be able to run properly. We've seen poor Switch ports done in the past, and so therefore they do get some props, but maybe not $50 props. I don't know. Of course, new game prices now are damn near $70 and not $60.
So most of the places are not calling it anything other than a re-release.
No. It's a port. It's a port, but what I was talking about was they put a lot of work under the hood. Not in making assets better, utilizing assets from 2. I don't know how much they even did that, or even if they could, because I think, if I remember correctly, I don't even know if Red Dead 1 and Red Dead 2 are even on the same engine. I don't think that they are.
I'm pretty sure they're not.
Pregnant pause right here.
Yeah, I'm looking at this up too.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested. Like, that is the Rage. So, Red Dead 1 is on the Rage system. Rage. It's also on Rage. I'm kind of surprised. I thought I didn't think they were still using Rage. I'll be damned. I want to say that I heard rumors of them moving away from Rage, but regardless, there's another game series coming out this one got announced during our hiatus. The Metal Gear Collection Volume 1.
Yeah.
This has Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3 from the PS1 and the PS2, as well as the original MSX Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 that were for the first two games of the series. So we got some information about this. Apparently, people who have played the Switch version said that there's some bugs, and that Konami has told them that we have teams that we're still fixing bugs, like for the Switch version. So the 2 and 3 are in widescreen aspect ratio because they are the HD versions that got released in 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. The HD versions. So those are those versions, and they've made subtle changes to them. They've made some. They're not being too big on stuff that they actually did, but they wanted to try and keep them as original to release as possible. They had one of the reasons why why they're re-releasing these, other than to keep them alive, is that they had to take them off of the digital storefronts, at least 1 and 2, and maybe 1, 2, and 3. Because Kojima, when he made these games, he's a big dude that likes to use real footage in his games. And he does it for the cutscenes. When they're doing long dialogue stuff, he'll just show live footage of shit that correlates to what he's talking about. And some of that footage is copyrighted. And they lost the copyright to that footage. And, of course, Konami's in a much different place than they were when these games came out originally. And they did not want to pay for the copyright on that footage. So those were pulled. They could no longer sell those. So
only if they could use them in their pachinko machines.
I
had to pull it.
Look at that. So we do know that they are doing a full-on remake of 3 called Delta that is going to reuse and maybe even stuff that wasn't used for all the audio files for the voice acting. That's going to be brought over. But the gameplay, they're going to be updating the gameplay to be more modern, but keep it what you knew. So that's a remake. This is not a remake. This is a port of other versions. Metal Gear Solid 1 is in the original screen aspect ratio, and you can get banners on the side if you want, or you can even move. You can move the screen to one side or the other, and do that with it as well. So this is also due to. It's coming out on all the systems now, and it will be available digitally and on a physical copy as well. Of course, then that lays the question: what is Volume 2? And I think a lot of that. I think that excites people more than Volume 1 does because of the potential to get Metal Gear Solid 4, which is still locked 110% on the PS3. You can't play that game anywhere else unless you have a PS3 emulator on your computer and have a way to.
And if it runs smoothly,
yes, yeah. So that is exciting because that game has been locked on there since 2008, and that game needs to be played by more people. It's a good game, so hopefully, and maybe we see Volume 1 here, so then Volume 2 can also be released on Switch 2 with a much better processing power to be able to play 4. Who knows? But that is kind of my Nintendo portion of the day. And I saw a headline that I wanted to run by you, Mike.
Okay.
Hold up.
Wait a minute.
Let me get to it. Because I'm picking on Starfield again for the last few minutes here on the show.
Starfield.
So this was published on Kotaku on Friday. And it says it could take a 130 hours to really start Starfield, says Bethesda executive Pete Hines.
Now, to really start. That doesn't mean to finish, to really start.
Pete Hines says he needed to get past the main quest before Starfield really got going, he said. Yeah, so this is straight from the article on Kotaku. Bethesda's forthcoming space epic Starfield is apparently so long, it's made developer head of publishing Pete Hines lose all sense of time. At Bethesda mainstream event during Gamescom 2023, Hines said he felt like the action role-playing game didn't really get going until he took 50 hours to finish its main quest. This was after he'd already dropped 80 hours into side quest.
After he dumped 80 hours into side quest.
He says, quote, 80 hours in, I went from doing one game to a completely different game where I started really focusing on the main quest. And then I got so caught up in the main quest that I spent the next 50 hours doing just that. And I'm here to tell you that the game doesn't really even get going until you finish the main quest. Telling somebody, oh, I played Starfield for 40 hours tells you nothing about what that person has done.
Jesus.
130 hours is an intimidating amount to put into anything, let alone something that turbo blasts blue light directly into your eyeballs and brain. True. But try not to worry about your ocular health just yet. It might not take you as long to be as Hines to bring the game to max speed. In 2022, Todd Howard estimated that the main quest would take around 30 up to 40 hours to beat. So I guess it's not much of a difference from 50, but at least you could have 10 more hours to put into like I don't know, like Crash Bandicoot. Something. I don't know. So, Mike, do you have time to play this game?
Yeah, if I forsake everything else.
If only. I mean, I literally went on a whole thing.
I'm gonna give it a shot.
I am too.
Try it.
I'm gonna get Game Pass just to play it. I mean, I don't have Game Pass right now.
I think that the modding community is what's gonna save this game. I 100% think that you have a game that you have the freaking big wigs going, it didn't really start until like 140 hours in or after the main quest. It's like, okay, so you're already telling most people 50 hours in a game is quite a bit for a main story. I personally am not okay with that. Like, to me, I like a nice, long, drawn out, very well managed major arc in a game. The fact that the sheer size of this game, at least is what they've announced, obviously never really seen this, scares me because there's a lot of nothing. But it's also that there's a lot of nothing, which means this has always been open for modders. So you're going to have this might be a game that they say, it could be the next Skyrim. It could be the space version of Skyrim where it's just easy to say, here's a whole new solar system developed by so-and-so, and we've seen the mods in Skyrim. Some of them are way better than the game.
Yeah.
Like, they literally dwarf the game. So my hope is that this gets a lot of traction with the modding community, and it'll be one of those, what's that game again that I was going to play? Do you remember what that was called, Brandon? What was that game called?
Oh, that one space game?
Something with citizens? I'm not sure anymore.
Natural Born Citizens?
Something like that.
Star Citizens.
There it is. The Citizens of the Stars.
Citizens of the Stars that have, man, they're making a lot of money off their citizens.
Dude, they make so much money and they have nothing.
I just saw an update the other day that said they got up to $600 million in funding.
Yep. And still no game. No real game. No true game.
So, one other thing, and I know we're going on about 45 minutes here. One other thing that got released from the Xbox court thing. See, we're bouncing all over the place. This is what happens when we don't have time to do episodes because we bounce around a little bit because the
Try to
stuff.
Cover all the stuff.
Well, stuff comes to me as we're talking, and then I remember it. It's like today we really didn't have a big game plan. We kind of just like turned it on and said, "Let's go."
That's pretty much like, hey, you want to like try to clean up what we did last time and finish out?
Yeah. So that whole challenge to the Xbox Activision acquisition revealed how much Sony had invested into Last of Us Part 2. Do you remember that?
I don't, off the top of my head.
Last of Us Part 2 development cost. That got revealed because of that, and so The Last of Us 2 and Horizon 2 each cost $200 million to develop. So Last of Us Part 2 cost $220 million to develop. They made that game, The Last of Us Part 2, a much different game and a different book than Star Citizen, mind you. I'm just using this as a comparison. This Last of Us Part 2 was a AAA game with a fantastic story. Screw you guys out there for who shat on it just because it challenged you. Great gameplay. It's hard to go back and play the first one after you play the second one because it's so much fun to play.
So good.
It's so much fun to play. For literally a quarter of the total amount that the people behind Star Citizen have made in total over the last 10 years.
You know what that sounds like? The price of one ship. Just remember though, to get access to purchase this ship, you must have spent $2 million up to this point.
I don't get that.
I don't understand it.
Look, everything that you once said about that game sounds freaking cool on paper, dude. Sounds like an amazing game.
Dude, it even played the way the freaking it basically took, here's Call of Duty combat that everybody knows. Mm-hmm. This is kind of like the pinnacle of everybody when they do a shooter. This is like everybody falls back on the Call of Duty style of shooting. Okay, here it is, but here we've made it actually real. So you don't have this stupid time where you draw your pistol in like 0.01 seconds because ain't nobody drawing a pistol in that fast.
Yeah.
Other than that one dude that freaking can reload his gun in a 6-shooter. I mean, that ain't the normal citizen here, okay? And they made it to where like gravity effects and all this stuff, and it was really in depth. And at first, it took off and it was fun, but then it's like you get whatever is given to you. So there's no expansion. It's like, well, pay $50 and you can have an AR. I'm not paying $50 for a game that I will never keep. I'll never keep this weapon when the game launches. And that became a trend. And then you get, I'm a part of a couple of Discords where there's 20, 30, 40,000 people in this squadron. And just to see new ships, they're donating money into a pool to get ships. And then there's a thing that's like, hey, you want to check this ship out? Come online X amount of time. This is when it's going to be available. We're going to stream it. That's cool. But we'll never get to keep it. Oh, you can buy a planet. Whatever the price is, I haven't really looked into it after this long. You can literally, the whole thing was like you can literally in-game buy property and build a city that can be visited by people. Amazing premise. You really think this is absolutely mind-blowing, the size this could be. That's the problem. It's absolutely mind-blowing because it's too big. It's too much. And he can't settle. He's just like, people send him stuff all the time, and it's like, here's a new ship. He's like, yeah, we can make that. Here you go. Here, spend a month on this. Instead of finish the game. Where's the story? There's supposed to be 3 factions. Where are they at? Where's the storyline for these 3 factions? Where's this? There's nothing. It's non-existent. Why would you? Whenever people are dumping millions of dollars into a game, you don't really have to finish. Sorry. I loved the premise of it. I was super excited about it. I played quite a bit of it, and then all of a sudden it was like there's all these players on there, and then people are just like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we're done. There's nothing else here. Like, there's nothing here. And then you got to, you know, go ahead. Sorry.
The mere premise of charging as much as you are for in-game additions to
that
all
you don't get to keep.
that you don't get to keep for the optics of paying more to get this game finished.
Yeah.
It's getting to the point where it went from something interesting that Mike told me about that you have that we spent a lot of work hours at work talking about this kind of game. It went, and then it turned into a joke. Mm-hmm. It's turned into, like, me and Will bring it up every once in a while, just talk some crap to our old buddy Mike. He just has a if he didn't have bad luck with games that he got into, he wouldn't have any at all. That poor guy, and like, man, this game looks awesome. You guys need to get this. And me and Will look at each other and went, I don't know, man. There's just something about it. Can't put a finger on it. And then it comes out, and it ultimately, and this does not maybe every time, but we've had a couple. We have had a couple where the game releases, and we're waiting to hear you say how good it is. Yep, I was getting there. Biomutant. Just, you've had bad luck. And Star Citizen is still not out. It's still an alpha. It's not going anywhere. It's never going to be released. It's never going to achieve what the person or persons have ever laid out for this game to be. They've lost so much interest in this game. It's become a joke on the wider internet, and now it's just the point where it's embarrassing.
Do you know they used to have CitizenCon? I think they still do. They had a CitizenCon. The game ain't even out, and they had a freaking convention that people had invented because the whole premise of this game could literally it could literally be your life, like what they were wanting, like legitimately the logistics, the math that goes behind some. He's like, yeah, I want everything to work like it really would in the real world. So we're like, what do you mean? He's like, well, when you hit I don't want you to hit an asteroid the size of, a car, in a plane, or in a spacecraft the size of a quarter of a planet, and it destroy it, and like it's an immovable object, it's indestructible. I want it to move. So now you have the physics of hitting this object, that object moving, possibly hitting something else. The sheer he needs to scale it down. There's just too much, and it's on a mega server, 1 million people. So now 1 million people have to render this. Like, it's gotten too big for its own britches. Yeah, that's what it has.
And it really sucks because we're sitting here talking about about how more people wanted so much more out of Red Dead, 1 being re-released, and you said, seems like there wasn't any real anything done to pretty this game up more than what was the minimal that needed to be done.
That's what I think it's bare minimum.
And I brought up how much the team worked to get the game running, and that should be applauded. And here, meanwhile, this game has been running, but how long has it stayed in this level of stage of development? It's just absolutely ridiculous to me. And why anybody would bother paying these people any more money? To me, they've already gotten away with highway robbery, with releasing a game that's never going to be released whatsoever. And we need to educate people to not give money to this anymore. You can do whatever you want with your money. You can do whatever you want. It's a free world, man, at least in most places. But by all means, these people are just lining their pockets with money from gullible people. And it just, you can do so much better with your money. And maybe the people who are spending as much money as you were talking about earlier, maybe they just need somewhere to spend all this money they have growing on trees. And really in fact, what I need these people to do, they need to reach out to the Game Addicts podcast. Either you do that on social medias where we're at, or you do that via email at gameaddictspodcast@gmail.com, and let us know how you got these money trees and where we can come and get them from you.
We will.
Because like when you can like everybody's got that guy. We always got people, man. Like, oh, I know a guy who grows sweet corn. It's all the way out there in the field. Yeah, go out. I just think, go out there and get you some. And then my dad always has people. He always had people, and I don't really understand how many people, how he knew these people. Like, are we stealing this corn right now, Dad? Are we just coming out here? Did you know this was back here? Oh yeah. He said come out there and get it. Who? It's like but here I'm out there with them committing grand theft corn, trying to like we're just loading up on this corn. So if we could come by and borrow some of these money leaves off of your tree, that would be grateful. Just reach out to us on social media, Game Addicts Podcast. You can go to the website gameaddicts.rocks. It's not .com anymore because I lost it because somebody's holding us up for ransom. Screw you. But we rock anyway, gameaddicts.rocks. You can check out the podcast across all the different platforms in which we are available. If we're not on your favorite one, let us know by reaching out to one of those said ways that you could reach out before. We want to hear from you. What do you guys think about the stuff that has happened lately with the whole Activision acquisition? What do you guys think about a Switch 2? What do you guys think about Red Dead Remorse or whatever this is?
That's a good one.
That's the episode title right there, I guarantee you.
Yeah, guarantee it better be.
But like, what do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about Spider-Man? I'm excited about Spider-Man coming up. Seeing a little bit more. I'm excited to play this game and play the story and see where they take it. It's gonna be really fun. We got a bunch of cool games. We just had Gran Turismo movie come out. That
I haven't watched it yet.
I haven't either. It just came out to
thought
theaters.
About it, but I don't know how I feel about it.
Yep, same here. But we got a bunch of games releasing this fall. We got possibly a new Switch getting announced. I'm excited for that as well. So, Mike, thank you once again for joining me on this episode as we talked and kind of got caught up on a little bit of stuff. We got Starfield in a week.
Yeah.
A week from Tuesday, Starfield will be coming out. We are both going to play it. We're both going to give you our thoughts. Possibly that might be, I don't know if that'll be the next episode of the podcast. It might actually be because we're going to release 2 episodes kind of close together and then maybe a week off. So that week off is going to coincide with that coming out. So maybe the next time you hear from us, we'll have some Starfield stuff. I also do plan on telling my Japan trip story because it's quite the story and a lot of fun. So maybe that's the next episode is Starfield impressions and Japan depressions. I
mean, at 105 degree, 100% humidity, there's some depression in there.
There was some depression. there absolutely was.
Trapped in a steel box too.
Yes. Oh yes. But that is on the next episode of the Game X podcast. That'll be 180, Mike. 180 episodes. We have gone down the road here. We have. We're still going, man. Yeah. At one point, I kind of thought the show was gonna sunset and I'm gonna write it off, and I was at a crossroads. Literally just about a year ago. It's like, do I sunset the podcast? Because I tried to keep it going by myself, tried to keep on going, and it was harder and harder to do. And something told me back in the February to don't cancel the hosting. Just freeze it for now, and maybe we'll see what's going to happen. And I'm so glad. I'm glad that we're back. I'm glad that you're back here on the show because I love doing this. I love just sitting down and chit-chatting with you about games and shit.
And we don't get to, it's funny. We literally work like 2 desks away from each other right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we both are so busy with our own stuff for work, not personal life, but for work, that we get to see, hey man, what are you doing? Hey, you want to help me with this for 5 minutes? Bye. And then it's
anything that we do, literally almost anything that we do is if we talk gaming, it's in spurts. It's in like, here's this thing I just saw. Bloop, 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 bloop. All right, now let's go do something else. And that's the way. It
reminds me of being online.
A little bit.
Where we were like, every time we got to work together, it's like, okay. So we're gonna work together. We got 2 hours. We gotta have a halfway plan of what we're gonna talk about because this happens once a month.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Yeah.
And then nobody wanted to trade, so you couldn't get anybody to trade.
I guess I'm just too popular. I'm sorry.
You are too popular when it comes to that.
Yeah, popular with the peoples. And you know what's funny is that I've got social anxiety like an MFer too. It's like I'm easy to talk to.
Everybody's drawn to you.
Yes. Well, and my wife called me a cinnamon roll the other day.
Explain.
We have A rough exterior, but a soft, gooey center. And honestly, when I meet new people, I am, especially if it's a group of people.
Yeah.
I am very like enclosed. I don't know what to say. I have no idea. Other people are usually responsible for leading the conversation. I am a bit better at it, like in a one-on-one situation. I can talk, but in a group, I'm just like a deer in headlights. I'm just like, hey, I'm here, and if somebody wants to talk to me, oh yeah, I can break down and talk. But trying to fit in with a group is hard for me. But one group I don't have a hard time fitting in with is with all you awesome listeners out there. Thank you once again for joining us here on the Game Addicts Podcast. We are off the air right now. I've been Brando.
And I've been Mike.
And you've been the audience listening to this episode. Have a good one. I hope this episode finds you well. We'll see you in a week or so, hopefully to talk about Starfield. Until then, keep gaming on.